Last week, Heather gave a very interesting lesson. How many of you watched or were here for Heather's lesson? Yes. If you missed it, go back and get it. It's really awesome. All of our talks are on YouTube and you can see them. And her lesson was about the science of passion and the science of using your energy to live your life in a way that pursues joy and love and spreads joy and love. So you're seeking it, joy and love, and you're also spreading it. And this whole month we've been exploring this concept of passion and its roots being in our spirit or in our souls. And our souls are expressing energy into the world all the time. And if we follow that which uniquely interests us, we're going to be led into situations that are full of that love and joy. And today I want to explore that a little bit further. And I also want to talk about what blocks that pursuit of joy and love through our passions. So I want to start my lesson today with a question. I want you to think about, what was the last party that you either attended or hosted, and what was it in celebration of? Think for a second. And now look at someone next to you, near you, and tell them what you were celebrating. What were you celebrating? Tell each other. Go. Why did you go to a party?
Yeah, there you go.
How are you going?
No, I remember that one.
Okay. Thank you, neighbor. Okay. Now, here's my next question. What do you consider the last failure you had in your life? You don't have to tell your neighbor. What was your last failure? And my follow-up question is, did you throw a party to celebrate the thing that you consider a failure? Did anybody raise your hand if you threw a party to celebrate failure? Yeah, no. Why not? We don't throw a failure party because if you're like most people, you only celebrate the milestones in life and the things that you want to draw attention to, that you want to share and ask others to share in. So that mostly means we throw birthday parties, holiday parties, maybe baby shower parties, housewarmings, whatever. You know what I'm talking about, right? So no one usually throws a weight gain party or a job that didn't work out party or a heartbreak party or a big financial disappointment party or a tumultuous end of a friendship party or a family crisis party, right? But should we? Should we? My lesson is called Throwing a Failure Party. Have you ever heard of a failure party? All right. So there are several major worldwide companies that actually celebrate mistakes and failures. Intuit, you've heard of Intuit, it's a software company, and it gives a very special award for the best failure. And it creates a failure party for that person to celebrate them. The co-founder, Scott Cook, said, "Every failure teaches something important that can be the seed for the next great idea." You may not know there's also a reward in the Google Corporation for making mistakes and taking risks. They have regular meetings to discuss these, and one company I found calls it Celebrating at the Church of Fail. And Church of Fail is a monthly ritual, and employees are invited to stand and confess their mistakes, and they're wildly applauded for doing so. Because missteps can often lead to the very next important life experience. And these companies recognize that lessons come out of discovering what doesn't work. Every failure brings us one step closer to what does work, to a new idea, to an innovative solution. And the companies don't just want their employees to hide their missteps or mistakes and get discouraged or stop trying new things, because what will happen? Innovation will die, growth will diminish, perfection just simply isn't expected, and there is a known path for celebrating failures. So I think what happens to us is, since we don't have a really cool life CEO, right, cheering us on and trying new things, and we expect ourselves to what? Be perfect and have, only positive outcomes, we take score too soon. Many of us measure the results of our life or the results of a choice we made way too young. And we shut down the innovative process and we freeze in self-doubt and fear, don't we? Can you relate? I see some heads nodding. And worse, we hide our mistakes and missteps. And what happens, there was a company called Huntsman who makes chemicals in a factory. And when they have an accident, there's a red button to push that will release the chemicals into the river if there's an emergency. And one time there was this guy on a scaffold working for a scaffolding company, and he accidentally hit that red button with a pole. And the scaffolding company fired him on the spot. And when the Huntsman CEO found out that he had been fired, he said, no, bring him back. I want him on the scaffolding team for us, because this employee went directly to the control room and said, I accidentally pushed that button, and they were able to stop it instead of all the chemicals flowing into the river. It would have taken him about 24 hours to discover that had been pushed. But because he didn't hide his mistake, it stopped the chemicals from flowing. And what happens to us is when we hide our mistakes and our missteps, if you will, the chemicals of shame just seep into the river of our life, and that shame can cause major environmental damage, right? The overall point I want to make this morning is that if we value every life experience as a spiritual experience, which is what we're learning all summer long, we throw a birthday party, we throw a Christmas party, we throw a retirement party, and we don't throw a failure party or a life challenge party. What we're basically doing is saying we're categorizing. These things I want to be proud of, and these things I don't want anyone to know what happened. We pick and choose which aspects of life are going to be showcased in our special museum that everybody can visit about our life, or they're hidden in a back closet of secrecy. So what do you consider a failure? We tend to label things as failures when things don't work out the way we expected them to work out. But what we're learning in the magic of the soul this summer is that every single thing that happens in our lives, our experiences, our soul has drawn into our lives for our betterment, for our learning, for our evolution into greater love. We draw experiences to ourselves to show us how to love more, how to be more compassionate, how to expand our positive impact on the world as we grow and become more in touch with our truer selves. So what I explained so many times is our souls zip into what I call a magic suit and these personalities to live on this human plane, on whatever path we're on. Our souls value all experiences, no matter how difficult our egos may label them. Our souls do not judge time in prison as bad and time in the spotlight as better. They don't value gathering possessions more than the shedding of possessions. One is not better than the other. The soul only seeks joy and love and sees no point in holding on to anything that does not deepen your joy and your love in life. And the soul can and will express love and joy in any situation if the human ego doesn't get in the way. Think about that for a second. And so I just turned too many pages. Hold on a second. I just celebrated that failure. And so often we get caught up in the idea that somehow something failed for us, impacted someone else in a negative way. How many of you get failure wrapped up in somebody else's experience because I did this or that? And we find ourselves in guilt or shame about the impact we had on someone else. Well, Gary Zukav, who wrote Seed of the Soul, he said this, and I believe it is true. Do we have it? Yes. Every circumstance serves equally the evolution of all involved, offering each individual the perfect opportunity to create anew and hopefully create more wisely and compassionately. So we can release that. Whoever was in the situation with us, they have the opportunity to grow in love and change too. So wouldn't it be interesting if we were to throw a party to celebrate the challenges we have gone through and learned through and healed through? Because I like to remind you, guess what? You've survived 100% of everything that you've had on your journey. Not just the highlights, all of it. Don't you deserve a party for the last time you went through a heartbreak and came out the other side a little bit more softer and maybe more self-aware? Maybe you deserve a party for the last diagnosis you were given that completely changed your relationship with your body. Or how about a party for the business adventure that didn't quite turn out the way you thought it would, but revealed a bigger truth about yourself or the way the world works? Wouldn't it be wise to celebrate the things you learned through that experience that you could not have learned in any other way? You know, if you're like me, there are many hard things that I very well may label as failures that revealed to me my biggest paths to freedom. Some of the times revealed areas of my thinking that held me back, or beliefs about myself that just weren't true. And some of those failure experiences gave me wisdom way more than any birthday candle added to my cake could have done. Just time does not help you learn anything, right? You know, I'm reminded about this old story. You may have heard it about a water bear in India. And this water bear, you know, they have those things that stretch across their shoulders, and there's one pot on one side and one pot on the other side. And the pot on this side had a crack in it. And this pot on this side was perfect. It always delivered a full portion of the water after the walk from the stream to the master's house. Well, the cracked pot only arrived at the master's house half full. So 2 years, this went on daily. This water bearer taking this 1.5 pots of water to the master's house. And of course, the perfect pot, he was so proud of his accomplishments, but the poor little cracked pot was ashamed of his imperfection and miserable that he wasn't able to accomplish what he was made to do. So after these 2 years, this cracked pot spoke to the water bearer one day by the stream. He said, "I'm ashamed of myself and I want to apologize to you." "Why?" said the water bearer. "Why? Why are you ashamed of?" And the pot said, "I've been only able for these past 2 years to deliver half of my water, and you have worked so hard, and because of my flaw, you don't get full value for your labor." The water bearer felt compassion for the pot, and he said, "You know what? As we return to the master's house today, I want you to notice the beautiful flowers along the path." Indeed, as they went up the hill, the old cracked pot took notice of the beautiful wildflowers on the side of the path, and this cheered it a little bit. And at the end of the trip, the water bearer said to the pot, "Did you notice that there were flowers only on your side of the path and not on the other pot's side? That's because I've always known about your flaw, and I took advantage of it. I planted flower seeds on your side of the path, and every day while we walk back from the stream, you've watered them. Without you being just the way you are, the master would not have this beauty to grace his house." Each of us has our own unique flaws. We're all cracked pots. But if we will allow it, life will use our flaws to grace our world. In God's great economy, nothing goes to waste, and there are no failures. And I love that story because it reminds me that we judge ourselves and we judge each other so harshly. You know, there are many, many challenges of being human in a culture and a world that so often judges. You know, we're so quick to look at those around us and point out flaws and seemingly poor choices, but we tend to distance ourselves from the person in pain. And what happens is we never see them come out the other side. We never see the flowers. They were growing the whole time. But what if we loved ourselves and those around us in a deeper way? What if we truly understood that everything is a lesson? Everything contains a blessing in disguise. Everything is holy. And everything has a higher purpose than we can hardly understand for our soul. What would happen if we could stand beside each other and witnessed not only the challenge or the breakdown, but we held our loving presence in place and compassionately encouraged each other all the way to the other side of a thing, and helped notice and celebrate the triumph of the soul, the wisdom gained, the new beginning that awaits on the other side. What if we were the ones who helped point out how those around us are being used by Spirit for a greater purpose? What if we were the party planners, just waiting to celebrate those challenges, lessons, failures, mistakes, and hard things when they got to the breakthrough and not measure it too early? Wouldn't that be a holier role to play in each other's lives? Instead of judging the breakdown and running away, stay and wait and see what's going to happen. I want to give you an example of such a thing that just occurred in my family. So those of you who've been around know that a couple of years ago, my adult daughter moved down to Fort Myers a couple of years ago, and she took her first full-time job as a librarian. Got out of grad school, went through COVID, came down here. And you probably witnessed my joy, as she was closer to me and she found her place to live and all those little details. But it turns out that this particular job was just not a good match for her. See, her passion is helping people explore life through books and through reading, knowledge, right? And this job was a pandemic response job, meaning she was stuck on the phone all day trying to help elderly people access the library services virtually. But because it turned out it was just a lot of tech support and problem solving with these patrons of a certain age who didn't know the difference between a Kindle and a tablet and a computer and an iPad. And they were just so frustrated. And Kelsey was stressed out every day. And after 6 months, she lost the job. Trust me, that was not the time to throw a failure party. She was devastated. She was scared. The rug was jerked out from underneath her, and she quickly replaced her income with other part-time jobs, but she felt her passion was useless. She second-guessed whether she would ever be valued for that unique skill she has. She second-guessed her education, her abilities, her choices, her mental health. She was doubting all of it. Basically, she doubted everything about herself. And as you can imagine, she did not want to hear any of my spiritual coaching ideas. So I did my best to keep my mommy fears to myself and my spiritual ideas to myself and just kept a lid on it. And I tried to witness her and support and encourage her. A lot of you were praying for her while she figured out her next move. And I kept encouraging her, do not give up on your dream of being a librarian. Do not give up on your passion. So over the next 5 months or so, she sorted through her emotions and she made this hard but big decision to move back to Atlanta where she felt like there would be more employment opportunities. And she realized during that time that living alone with her cat was just not all it's cut out to be. Not quite right for her. And being around so many retired people in Florida wasn't the best match for her either. And after adding it all up, she made this move toward greater possibility for joy and love and another opportunity to dive into her passion. She followed her intuition, and she's now in another library job that is a perfect match for her. She truly is happier than I've ever seen her. And when I asked her about her job about a month ago, she said, "Mom, my job is the highlight of my life." And so she happens to be actually visiting me this weekend, and we've been sort of throwing a little failure party. And we've been talking about all the things that she learned down here in Florida during all those painful months, about her field of employment, about her, preferences of living and what she needs to feel whole in her life. That was a huge lesson. And what she needs, and we're celebrating her courage to try new things and her willingness to course correct very bravely. We acknowledge that it's only through living in a different circumstance that we learn these big things about ourselves. And the secret is to keep trying new things and not get discouraged when we have to change our course, and keep following our passions and the things we care about without letting our spirits get crushed along the way. And I've been loving the stories about her new life now. And we may or may not have had some ice cream last night to celebrate. It was a little bit of a party. But you see, it would have been easy for Kelsey to just throw away her library passion. It would have been so easy and choose something else more seemingly practical. But I didn't think that was the wisest thing to do, and obviously she didn't either. See, the universe delights in expressing as us, as unique as we each are, crack and all, right? Spirit offers us guideposts and signs to let us know where we need to go and what we need to do. We just need to trust the process and affirm that everything is working out for the best and our highest good. There are no accidents or mistakes in life. Let me say that again. There are no accidents or mistakes in life. When we broaden our expectations to celebrate our individual quirks, our unanticipated surprises just lie right on the other side. The seed of perfection is growing as us. Only our judgments can block its unfoldment. You know, Vicki Ryan shared a post on Facebook this week, and it perfectly fit with this talk. And even though she read it in class too, I still want to share it now because it's written by Joseph Campbell. And this is what it said. Joseph Campbell wrote, Nietzsche was the one who did the job for me. At a certain moment in his life, the idea came to him of what we call the love your fate. Whatever your fate is, whatever the hell happens, you say, this is what I need. It may look like a wreck, but go at it as though it were an opportunity or a challenge. If you bring love to that moment, not discouragement, you will find the strength there. Any disaster you can survive is an improvement in your character, your stature, and your life. What a privilege. This is when the spontaneity of your own nature will have the chance to flow. Then, when looking back at your life, you will see that the moments which seemed to be great failures, followed by wreckage, were the incidents that shaped the life you have now. You'll see that this is really true. Nothing can happen to you that is not positive. Even though it looks and feels at the moment like a negative crisis, it is not. The crisis throws you back, and when you are required to exhibit strength, it comes. Joseph Campbell. And so before I close, I want to turn this idea, this topic, to us as a community. You know, as you know, the center's throwing a party Saturday night. Have you heard? We're talking about it. It's a gala or a gala or whatever we want to call it. Jimmy Buffet will not be here. But anyway, at this party, we're coming together Saturday to celebrate several things. We're celebrating this big summer of soul magic that we've all had a great time with. It's coming to an end. We're celebrating our new assistant minister. Yay. We're celebrating and recognizing our major volunteers. So if you volunteer, don't forget to be there. And our generosity that just has us thriving right now. It's a big party. All the valuable pieces of our journey as a center. But I also want you to understand something. As we celebrate everything about our center and what it's taken to get to this moment, there have certainly been times when we, as a community, were uncertain and could have crumbled in the face of seeming mistakes. Like when the founding minister had to leave, all of a sudden, pretty rapidly, he left. And then so many congregants left when he left, right? We dropped down to like 12 faithful people in this community who kind of stuck it out. We've had struggles with technology that many of you have witnessed. We have trouble sometimes stabilizing the music sometimes. There were hard COVID decisions that seemed to split us into factions, right? We've had financially lean months too. But guess what? Just as it is for us as individuals, it is for us as a collective. Everything that has happened throughout the 12 years we have been together, all of those things have been valuable to our development. We have learned leadership strategies. We've learned abundance principles, how to support and appreciate each other, how to love our volunteers and encourage them. We've learned how to keep walking our path of passion and faith and love and joy collectively. So let's consider this party, and we're calling it the magic of community, a party that celebrates all of it. All of it. Failures are only failures if we think they are. Our souls always see everything as a possibility to flow love and joy through our passions. It's all energy. let it flow, celebrate all of it. And so it is.
So it is.